Hello good people and welcome back to Level Up Your Chess Strategy, Part 3. Now the chess composer and chess powerhouse Francois Philidor said, pawns are the soul of chess. You close or open positions by pushing them. They allow or restrict piece activity, yours and your opponent's. And if somehow you get to the 8th or 1st rank, you can promote to a queen or under promote to win a position. And of course, the famous en passant. Now, it's no big surprise that this video is about the strategic concept, pawn structure. This video is not an exercise in tactical puzzles a la Puzzle Rush and or an openings memorization fest. I'm here, hopefully, to show you how to win games. Also, I'm a chess improver myself, and let's see what we can get out of this video. Let's boost that ELO. Let's get it.
Round 1, fight!
So today, to show the idea of pawn structure, we're going to look at a game by the old and former Soviet world champion Vasily Smyslov that happened in 1945. Oh, before I begin, before I forget, if you find this video tolerable, it's helping your chess, and you kind of like the channel, please leave a like and sub. You have my gratitude. Let's get started. So it's Vasily Smyslov versus Iosif Rudakovsky. I hope I said that correctly, but let's just look at the chess. White starts with e4, c5. By the black pieces, that's the Sicilian defense. Knight to f3, e6. Attacking the center, natural variation. Knight takes, knight to f6, attacking. Knight to c3, developing and defending. And now we have d6. Looking into e4. And e5 and c5, allowing ideas here, and also bishop to e7 if need be, bishop to e2, just principled chess, castle next. Bishop to e7, castle kingside, both complete their development, and now bishop to e3. Knight to c6, maintaining tension, developing. If you take as white, then there's a pawn phalanx in favor of black. f4. Now, preparing, also pushing f4, looking at g5 and e5. Now you can see there's no tension yet, but the tension is kept tightly like a spring. Queen to c7. Ideas here, activating the queen on this diagonal. Now we have queen to e1. In these kind of positions, you could play queen d2 or queen to e1, preparing, well, rook to d1, and or queen to g3, and or queen to h4. What was that? Knight to d4. Takes, and now push. The push on e5 causes the position to open up, or potentially open up, and this is where kind of the video starts in the concept of pawn structure. If white were to take, this would leave this pawn defended by the queen, meaning it would activate black's position. Both white and black have a bishop pair, meaning it might be a dynamic position, but it's in your best interest here as white to play bishop to e3. Now, the reason I say that is you keep your pawns connected. You can push on f4 if the opponent doesn't take, but also if the opponent does take, you have this idea of bishop to f4. And the difference between these two pawns is that while they're both an island, you've created a semi-open file, but more importantly, this pawn can get attacked. A d6 pawn can get attacked faster because you're playing as white and you're ahead by one move. So you have ideas of queen to g3, rook to d1, maybe knight to c5. You're actually ahead by development in this position because the rooks are not connected and the bishop there on c8 isn't developed yet. So if your opponent actually takes, and that's why it's such a clever move to just retreat here on c3, because after takes and takes, your advantage is twofold. You're attacking f7 here with the semi-open file, And even though you have a pawn island there, this is a weaker pawn because it's also obstructed by its bishop. Both your bishops are now open and slicing in the board, but just so many lines I'm drawing. But anyways, bishop to e3 instead of takes. Bishop to e6. Likely somewhat of an inaccuracy. I would personally probably put the bishop there on c6 because now it allows f5. And instead of retreating back, black decides to play bishop to c4, offering the exchange. Black takes and takes. Now I want you to kind of look at this position. Just, yes, marvel at it. But more importantly, there's an underpinning memory marker here that when you see, this position looks better for white. You actually kind of make that progress quite immediately. The quality of this position is that white has more territory, but I want to point out that these pawns are weaker. And more importantly, this square can potentially get a lot weaker in favor of white. This bishop is blocked by its own pawn and the knight. And while the knight is attacking d5 there, it's about to get really weak for black in terms of kind of one idea. And after drawing all that and creating all that excitement, I would like you guys to look for a key move and to remember in these kind of positions, what is the move that Vasily Smyslov played that now highlights how weak this pawn is, how much stronger this territory taking f5 push is, with one simple exchange. That's it. It's not a sacrifice, it's an exchange. What is the correct exchange? That's actually a very strong move. I'll give you guys the answer in 3, 2, 1. Vasily Smyslov played bishop to g5. Strong move. And why is that so strong? Because when this is removed, knight to d5 is unstoppable. There's nothing. There's no light squared bishop. There's no other knight to stop the knight from getting there. And the quality of the piece is just too much. And then the opponent plays rook f to e8. In these kind of positions, when you're going to be a little down on positional advantage, because this is such a weak square, this is a very attackable pawn. Like that word, attackable. You should play actively for piece activity now. And a move like rook to c8. Now attacking this semi-open file is better actually for black because you can't stop the capture. In this position, rook f to e8 was played and now simply takes. Takes, knight to d5. And you could argue, hey man, are you teaching me to give my pawns away? With this super high quality knight, a weakness here, and a more active sets of rook, if you take queen to c2, then you just offer white tempo after tempo to improve their position, starting with rook to f2. Defending, queen to c6. What do? That's an open file now. Rook to c1. Queen to d7. If they make a mistake, this is actually a stronger move. But all the moves are just bad because of the range of this knight. So queen to a7, fork. Queen to b5, fork. So something like that, which collapses the position further, is just too much. And now you have free reign. Say bishop to d8. You just, all the moves are bad here for black after that capture. So don't take pawns haphazardly. But if you're on the white side, offer pawns so that take it haphazardly, essentially. So in any case, knight to d5, bishop to d8, avoiding capture. Now you have c3. A little less dynamic. Vasily Smyslov, of course, is more of a positional player. And what he does is just locks the position. Now you can't just start threatening this. It's a solid wall. So b5, b3, get out of there. Check, sidestep, rook to c8. You're not going to make any advancements there. Rook to f3. the quality of this rook and the quality of this rook, because of this pawn now blocking it, and because of that previously weak pawn, and now a bishop that's an okay bishop but is like passive, and a much better knight is placed on d5. That's the difference. I think I just said so many run-on sentences. We have king to h8, and I want you to look for another improving move to entomb this bishop, and then potentially create threats here. What is that move that Vasily played? I'll give you guys the answer in 3, 2, and 1. Vasily played f6. And while the best response is this move g5, all the moves here are kind of positionally losing. At least from when I studied it. G takes f6 was what the opponent played, now h4. You're like, why would you aim your queen in front of the bishop? It's because of this. So if they say push, you create a checkmate threat with knight to f6, and the queen is so far away. This weak pawn and this barrage of pawns is essentially blocking the mobility of the defensive forces. So you can't even put your rook here because that's a mate, and immediately. And if you have to take, well, this happens next. After check, a king hunt ensues. It's not a forced mate. And here, and now rook to g7. I'm going to put that as a good move because this leads to king hunt. Mate next. Check. One of your rooks will be lost, essentially. Show you in faster speed, essentially. Yeah, so queen to h4. Now takes, threatening mate. Say as black you underestimate the position and try attacking this twice. Well, uh-oh, spaghetti-o. That's a brilliant move. After takes, that's a mate. And you can't take because of a mate. This was supposed to defend you anyway. So, rook to g3. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Threatening mate. Rook to g8. Rook to d1. See that pawn? It's so easy to say see that pawn, but because black is busy defending a position, you can start harassing the weaker pawns. d5. Takes, takes, and after this position, black resigned. This rook is delegated to defending, and it's pinned at the moment. And now you're attacking this twice. So black can't just take c3 because they're going to get checkmated. So at this position, black resigned because after, say, queen to f8, you lose a whole whopping queen. End the game. So quick recap. Lost my voice there a little bit. e4, c5, knight f3, e6, d4. C takes d, knight takes d, knight to f6, knight to c3, d6. I drew so many lines. Still within principled chess. Bishop to e2, bishop to e7, castle, castle. We have bishop to e3, knight to c6. f4. A pawn push. It's a committal pawn push, but it creates tension, and you want to expand on f5. Queen to c7. Queen to e1. Just developing moves. You put the queen in a square so that the other square it previously occupied can be activated or can be developed upon, and you put it in a nice mobile square. Knight to d4. And now black offers the idea of a dynamic position. After takes, both the bishops will be liberated. It's more of an open position. White refuses, bishop to e3. That's actually a strong move, and that's how you should think in chess. So that if this isn't captured, you can push, and if this is captured, you have a better exchange. Bishop to e6, push. territory, but also this pawn chain is less, the root pawn is less vulnerable to this root pawn. Bishop to c4, bishop takes, queen takes, bishop to g5, strong move. Removal of the defender. This square is going to be weak for the rest of the game. Questionable move, takes, takes, knight 2, d5, bishop to d8, c3, solid wall. b5, black is now 2 moves behind, but more importantly, really worse in the position. This knight is an absolute monster. This pawn is weak. b3, queen to c5, push, strong move, takes, queen 2, another strong move, takes, removal of the defender, takes, takes, a residual weak square, a checkmate inbound, a rook stuck defending, d5 takes first, and now it's game over. Opponent resigned. You cannot stop your queen from getting absolutely robbed from you in the game. I hope you guys got something out of that. I know I did. It's one of the older games, less flashy, but highly principled. Add the idea of pawn structure understanding through game. Don't double your pawns. Don't haphazardly push it, and know how to make it to your advantage. I'll see you guys later. Double P's.